Hello, this is Numeric Citizen. In today's video, I want to explain why I'm moving my reading notes out of Craft and how I did it, and why I chose Bear 2 for that purpose. First, I would like to make something really clear with my viewers. I'm still in love with Craft. I use Craft all the time, all day long. And it's only a matter of using the right tool for the right purpose. So as you can see here in this diagram, I've been using Craft for a lot of things since the very beginning of my craft journey. Initially, I used to put bookmarks into Craft. I used to make outlines using Craft for video production. And I used to do some tasks management also in Craft. But I decided over time that it was a better idea to focus on this specific use of Craft, which is writing and composing documents. As you know, I'm also using Craft for sharing a lot of stuff online. So this is really a matter of focusing on the right tool for the right purpose. It's not because I no longer love Craft. Far from it. I really love Craft and I want to focus on uh, the very specific use cases that I think are a better fit with Craft. First, I want to recap how I used to do my reading workflow involving Craft. So when reading content on the web, I would sometimes use a Safari extension to download the article I was reading using the Mark download extension. And then I would import that Markdown file into Craft and use the Craft Assistant to summarize and generate the keynotes or the keywords or the hashtags for this article. And then I would put that in a specific folder called readings. The other way I would do reading is by using Omnivore read later service, which once there is an article saved into Omnivore, I would then read the article, do some highlights, and then at some point in time, I would export those highlights using Readwise because Omnivore is syncing the highlights to Readwise, and then I can export those highlights in Readwise, which will create Markdown files that I would in turn import them into Craft for further processing, like adding keywords and summary, and then do some backlinking with other articles. Here you see a Markdown file that has been generated using the Markdownload Safari extension, which look like this. There's the front matter here at the top. And then if I go at the bottom here, there's the metadata section that I used to insert manually using a Craft template. And this template contains a tag section, which is my tagging system in Craft. And there's a section for a kind of a summary or write-up of my own take on this specific article. And then there's a cross-referencing section, which I used to do some backlinking between articles within my Craft space. Another example here is a highlight, a Readwise highlight summary that has been exported from Readwise and then imported in Craft. The look is a bit different, as you can see. And you see here in this article, you have the original link here and all the highlights that I did while reading the article. So this is another example of what used to be within my Craft environment. So what drove my decision to switch application and use Bear 2 instead of Craft for my reading notes management? The first thing is that the idea of storing all the notes into one place is to be able to find them later easily in two different ways. One would be by doing search, and the other one would be using tags. And as you probably know, tags are not supported in Craft yet, and I'm not sure when it's going to be supported. So I was kind of tired for waiting for that, and I prefer to use a ready solution for storing my reading notes, which I can then tag easily so that I can find past reading notes just by browsing tags. The other one reason is that there is no web clipper in Craft. So when I'm browsing an article and then I want to save this article in Craft, I have to use another extension, which is the Mark download extension that I did mention a few minutes ago. And I would prefer to have a native solution within Craft for saving this article, including the images, but it's not possible. And also, I know that there is some option using shortcuts on the Mac, but again, it's not the perfect solution. I wish and I want to use a dedicated web clipper built into the application, and so that's why the Craft solution doesn't fit well here. And also, even with the Craft Reloaded version of Craft, which recently launched, there's the search capabilities of Craft are somewhat limited. Now you can search across spaces in Craft, as you know, but the search is limited to the title of the documents spread across spaces. It's not searching for words within documents stored in other spaces. So it's kind of a limiting factor in resurfacing content when I'm doing research for a specific subject. Again, I prefer to have a modern solution which has a powerful search capabilities, and I think Bear2 better fits here. Also, I do have some issues with the way Craft is displaying the backlink section at the end of the document. It's more flexible than it used to be when it first appeared, but I think there's a better way to show those backlinks, and this is why, again, I think Bear2 is a better fit for my needs. Also, the Craft Assistant is built on ChatGPT 3.5, which is nice, but there's better tools or better models that you can use to summarize uh, reading articles and store the summary inside the article. And I think I found a better way to summarize article, which I will show you in a minute. And also, there are some limitations in the way Craft is supporting actions within Apple shortcuts, which kind of limit some workflows that I could use with Craft if there was a better support for Apple shortcuts. So it's pretty much why I did chose to leave Craft behind for my reading notes management. So Bear2 is a note-taking application, just like Craft is, but the comparison for this reading notes management stopped there because using Bear for that is quite a different story. So the first thing to know is that Bear2 supports the importation of Markdown files, and this is the format I use to export my notes from Craft into Bear. And the other thing to note is that the export capabilities of Bear also supports Markdown files, which means that if in the future I want to quit Bear and use another application for my reading notes management, then I'll be able to do that using the export capabilities of Bear and the Markdown file format. So first, if you didn't know, Bear2 offers a web clipper. This is one of the reasons I'm switching to Bear, which I'll show you in an example here. So let's say I have this article that I want to read now and process. I can just click on this Bear to icon here in the toolbar and click on it, and then it will import the web article into Bear using pretty much the same format. If there was an image within the article, it would have also imported the image in this. So it's a very easy process to import content into Bear. Once the article has been imported, I can read it, and I can also ask ChatGPT to summarize this article using Raycast. There's a feature within Raycast that I can use to summarize the content of an article, which I'll show you in a moment. And also, once the article has been kind of processed, it's pretty easy to add tags because I only have to go at the end of the document and just start typing the tagging character and then start entering like all the tags that I want. I chose to have a new line for each tags because it makes editing tags with Bear is easier. So I can enter anything that I want as um, a tag. And also, as you can see on the left sidebar here, I can show pretty easily and very in a fast manner each article that contains the tag, the Apple tag. I can do the same for photography and all the tags here. As you can see, there's a bunch of them. So it's very easy to use the tags system in Bear. And the other thing that is interesting is that I can't copy a deep link to this node using the copy link to node command. And then I come back in Craft here. I can create a new document. And if I want to paste that link, then I'll be able to um, come back directly to the node like this, right into Bear. And the reverse also works. If I want to look at this specific document here, I can insert a craft deep link within the Bear node. And then if I'm reading this node and I want to come back to the source, I can click on the backlink and then I will be back in Craft. Creating backlinks in Bear is pretty easy. It's pretty much like other application which use the kind of the wiki link format, and you just type the bracket here and you start typing some letters like antitrust, and I can just link to this here just like that. I can create a new one, antitrust, like this. And as you add more backlinks, you can look at those here. If I go to this document first and I go back here, you'll see that there's a link to this document, which I just added. If I go to this document here, I can go back and look at this referring document. So I prefer this way of displaying backlinks because it's easier to navigate instead of having to go back to the very end of the document. I prefer to have a quick access here in the top right corner. So that's for the backlink method using Bear. Now, once an article has been saved into Bear, it's time for some processing. Besides adding tags and some backlinks to already stored reading notes, there's this idea of summarizing the content using ChatGPT. I'm using here Raycast, which is there's a feature called Raycast AI, which is a front end to ChatGPT 3.5. I'm not paying for the more advanced version of um, uh, ChatGPT within Raycast because I'm already using a subscription to ChatGPT outside of Raycast. So I could just copy and paste this article and use the ChatGPT or the MacGPT application to do the summarization. But here I'm doing a summarization with an automation process, which is a built using the keyboard Maestro Mac utility. So what I'm going to do is hit those keys here. It will select the text, invoke the summarize feature of Recast AI, and then it's copying the result in the clipboard. Then I hit escape here, and I go at the end of the document after the links, and I can paste the content of the summary. I could add some thing like that, and this is the summary. I could also ask Recast AI to summarize keywords for this specific note if I want to, but usually it doesn't produce very good result. So this is one thing to do for each of the saved article in my process, in my workflow, is to do the summarize. And then I read this summarization after having read the actual content to make sure that it makes sense. Now, when it's time to look for content that I saved into my reading notes vault in Bear, um, obviously I showed you earlier to use tags in the left sidebar, which will surface all the reading notes associated with a specific tag. Now it's about search. There is the search within a specific note. When I'm currently editing a reading note, if I hit the command F, then this is what I'm going to see. And then I can type Apple and it will show me everything within the document where there's the Apple word. But the better way of searching is using this search here. So if I search for Apple, it will show me all the notes containing the apple within them. Obviously, I could say that I want to search also for Apple and but not Microsoft. And this way it will remove the notes where there is the Apple, but where's the Microsoft also. So I don't want to have Microsoft within this search query. I'll go back to Craft here to show how it works. So if I want to exclude, like I just showed, how to exclude a phrase or a word, you use the minus sign. You can also use more advanced operators like this word, or you type another word and you don't want this word to be included in the search. You can search also for um, nodes that has a tag or nodes that has no tag, like using this one. So if I go in Bear, I'll clear that up and I select untag. So here you can see that I don't have any untagged document, reading node document within the Bear. Also, you can search for the creation date or yesterday node if I did enter some notes yesterday. So I'll try that. I'm not sure I did yesterday. Seems that I don't have anything for yesterday, and there is a red indication of because I'm searching for a specific recognize token or word by using yesterday. I can also use today. So that's the node that I just entered today. So there's a lot of keywords that you can use to search within Bear. Depending on your use case of Bear, you can also search for attachment. You can also search for images. So if I go here, select images, so I'll see all the nodes that contain images within my vault, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty nice. And also I can add a something like a iPad. So again, I can see that I have an article with images with the iPad keyword. So it's very advanced search capabilities that so far we're not able to use within Craft. And again, this is why one of the many reasons why I'm using Bear now for that purpose. So it's pretty fast. I do have a lot of notes. I think it's more like that 500 notes and counting. So I'm guessing that I'm expecting the same performance if I go to thousands and thousands of nodes within this within the application. So that's for the search capabilities of Bear. So in summary, the exportation from Craft to Bear was pretty simple. The first thing is that for some reason, for some documents, I chose to export from Craft into Bear using the export feature. So if I have this document here that I want to export into Bear, I go into the share menu, transfer and select Bear, and then it will just copy the old content of this note into Bear. But when I do have a lot of content like here, there's about 500 different notes. I can click on that, select all the notes, and then I do the export here using the this export feature where it will create a folder within and all containing all the exported documents. It takes quite a while to do though. And those are the two main ways of exporting content from Craft. Once you've got all the files, then you can go into Bear and then use the import feature in Bear to select the specific folder, because Bear likes to use a folder for content importation. So you select your folder created by Craft, and then you do the importation, and then you can do some data quality control, and then you're up and running within Bear. So that's pretty much for the export and import process. Now that all my notes are exported to Bear and processed, there's no reason to keep the same content in Craft. So what I'm going to do now is select this list of readwise highlights that I'm going to select, and then right click on that, and I'll click delete, and it will delete all those notes and put them into the recently deleted folder. And the good thing here is that when you do search, you do a command O, there is much less content in Craft, and the side effect is that the search might provide better results. And I think it's one of the reasons why I decided to move my reading notes out of Craft, is to kind of remove all the noise and focus on everything that I really need in when I'm writing documents within the Craft application. If I want to do some research in my reading notes, then I'll switch to Bear and use the more advanced search capabilities of Bear. So this is an important thing to consider when you do some cleanup in the Craft environment, because I think that you get better results when you do search afterwards. So that's it for today's video. I hope that you have a better understanding of the reasons of behind my decision of leaving Craft for reading notes management. So if you like this video, just hit like. If you don't subscribe to my YouTube channel, now it's time to do so you don't miss any upcoming videos. So thank you for being there. Thank you for watching until the very end, and see you guys for another one soon. Bye.